Hello. Good afternoon. I'm finally off work. I don't know how she did it, but I think Penelope, yeah, she put some sort of buzzer in this seat on the couch that when I sit down, it somehow triggers her woofing. It's not barking, it's just, and she just sits and stares at me. I'm like, we've been in that office since 8 o'clock this morning. I did fix her some breakfast. And yes, I did. And I fixed you breakfast. And I put it on the rug because she wants to eat in the room that I'm in. She won't eat it if I leave it in the kitchen, right? So I put it in there. How many times did I walk through it? 3, I think. Yeah. I didn't really walk through it the first time. I kicked it because I was going out to take care of the cat, which that's a story on its own. And I kicked it, and it went everywhere. And I picked it up. Oh, God. What is it about this couch that triggers my animals? Well, you're tangled up in the phone cord. Anyway, I kicked it, and it went everywhere. So I come back and pick it up. And then the second time, I didn't pay attention, of course, and I'm walking around in them big old thick Crocs, so I can't feel nothing. And I went to step, and I stepped right on the edge of it. Thankfully, I didn't really knock a bunch of it out, but I did get some on my shoes that time. And then the third time, I stepped right down in the middle of it, and there was, it's that wet food that you keep in the fridge, Pet Fresh, or whichever one you get at the pet food store, not at the grocery store. Yeah, I stepped in it and had a big old wad of it stuck to the bottom of my shoe. So I practically hopped over to the door to go out on the porch for the third time because of the cat. Okay, now moving on to the cat. I think the cat, Pumpkin, is probably going to quit coming to my porch because I keep trying to, probably in her mind, decease at her. And I'm like, I'm actually trying to help you, okay? But I went out the first time with a bowl of food, and I laid it down. And then Penny started barking, and so I knew she was here, so I told Penny to stop, and then I walk outside to pet her, and she's got more mats. And I said, somebody told me to get olive oil and rub it on those mats. So I go out there for the third time after the third time I stepped in the dog food. That time I finally picked it up and just threw it all away, what she hadn't eaten, because I had just walked all over it. And I took olive oil and I just rubbed it in those mats all around her neck. And then she sat there trying to lick it off and looking at me like, what are you trying to do to me? Look, I'm trying to help you, okay? It probably doesn't seem that way. It probably doesn't seem like that because now I've rubbed oil all over you, and I broke up a tapeworm pill last week and put it in your food, or at the beginning of this week. But I really am trying to help you, ma'am. I really am. And this dog. I'm not going to move her. She was here first, okay? I don't know when her birthday is. I need to look it back up. It's sometime this week, but she's 19 now. So I can technically say she's 19 instead of my cat's going to be 19. Yeah. And she could care less about Penny standing there woofing. Yeah. So I could care less. Just keep petting me. Yeah. Anyway. So there's that. But it's been a lovely day. We were expecting no rain, and it has rained. So that's good. Last night, we were expecting, they said it should stay east of us, but that we could get 1/4 to golf ball size hail. And thankfully, we did not. Because that golf ball golf ball size hail will break stuff. You know what I'm saying? But as it was heating up last night and starting to thunder and lightning before it started raining, I told the girls, I said, y'all need to get home. And Naomi was like, what about the brownies? And I was like, I live across the street. You know, they're still in the oven. But you need to get home now before this storm hits. Because if we have the hail they're talking about, y'all ain't going to want to get out and run across the street. So go now while it's safe, okay? You can either come back over tonight if it stops raining, or you can come over in the morning and I'll set them outside. And she was like, okay. And this after they told me that they wouldn't be able to come at 7 because they were going bowling. And I was like, okay, well, can we come at 6? I said, no, because I get a phone call at 6, and I usually stay on the phone with her till 7, okay? So, no, you can't come at 6. I said, but you can come tomorrow night instead of tonight. It's okay to miss a night, you know? I'll be here tomorrow. And they were like, okay. Well, here they show up at 7 o'clock. I said, I thought you were going bowling. Well, we were going to go bowling, but then my brother, they were going for his birthday. Well, he decided he wanted to go to the mall and to the carnival. The carnival's behind the mall. I said, does he know that we're going to have a thunderstorm tonight? Like a bad thunderstorm? No. I said, he's going to wish that y'all had gone bowling. I'm telling you, because it's going to be bad. But anyway, she made brownies, Naomi. She tried to braid my hair. And I told her, I said, you're going to hate my hair when you try to braid it because my hair is slippery. And she was like, oh, it'll be fine. It's like mine. And I said, no, yours is a little bit more coarse. And mine is slippery. She said, silky. I said, you can call it that if you want to, but it's slippery. And so she kept trying to braid it, which I braided a little bit of it this morning while it was wet. But she said, as she was trying to braid it, she said, well, this is just awful. And I said, well, my mother hated giving me perms for this reason. And she would take my hair and wrap that paper around it and pull it up to the end. And then she'd be hanging on tight to it. And a cigarette hanging out of her mouth with an ash about that long hanging off the end of it. And she'd be trying to get that curler on there and roll it down to my scalp. And as it was rolling, my hair was popping out everywhere. And I said, she'd put me on the head and say, stop it. And I'm like, that's not really helping. That's not really helping. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. But she was like, I hate your hair. And I was like, thank you. Sorry about that. I got my father's hair. But she had more coarse hair than I do. My mom's was more coarse. So, yeah. But anyway, they finally got their brownies today. But let me tell you what happened. So, I mean, she cooks all the time. So, I don't know how she did this. But we were using the gluten-free brownie mix. Except she was using eggs this time instead of applesauce. And I did not see her do it, but she added a cup of water instead of 2 tablespoons of water. And she's stirring it, and she's like, why isn't it thickening up? And like at that moment, it hit both of us because I saw the cup sitting there wet. And I said, did you put in a cup of water? And she said, yeah. And she looked at the box. She said, it says 1 cup. Oh, that says 1 cup of 1 cup of chocolate chips or nuts, optional. I said, yeah, reading's essential. It was 2 tablespoons of water. I said, well, get the brownie mix that your mom bought and just pour a little at a time in until you get it to the right consistency. So I pulled out a big, like 13 by 9 metal pan, and I filled up 2 big containers of brownies out of that batch. So I texted her mom this morning and I said, if Naomi wants to come get those brownies, I'm going to leave them on the porch railing I said, because I've got to get them out of the house. They're extremely rich, but they're good. So here comes Naomi across the street. She rings the doorbell. I go to the side door. I said, they're on the porch. She said, I didn't know what porch you were talking about. I said, I only have one porch. This is considered a stoop. 2 stairs going into the house. It's a stoop. Back patio. Front porch. Only have one. She was like, oh. So then she comes around to the front of the house. She walks up the steps, walks right up to the door, and is staring at me. I pointed to the brownies. She said, oh. Wake up, dear. They're right there. So she finally got her brownies, and she took them back home, and all is well. But, yeah, she was about to have a meltdown because they were going bowling at the time they were supposed to come over here. I said, oh, it'll be fine. I'll be here tomorrow. Okay? Well, I'm going to my friends tomorrow. I said, okay, what time are you going to your friends? We'll probably be 7 or 8 o'clock. I said, then come earlier. I said, Friday night is not a problem. And she was like, oh, okay. But thankfully they got to come last night. But, yeah, it was a big ordeal. Yeah, but she couldn't braid my hair at all. Nope, she tried, and there was more outside of the braid than there was inside the braid. I think if my hair was wet, she could braid it, but just like I braided it today, it kept popping out after. I braided it wet, and then I pulled it up in that ponytail holder, and then as it dried, it kept popping out. So that's just the way my hair is, yeah. So, anyway, I hope y'all are having a great day. I guess that's the end of this video. I have nothing else to talk about. Except I watched Wine Country while I was working today on Netflix, and it's pretty cute. So, if you want to go watch it. Anyway, that's it. Remember, I love you. Jesus loves you. We hope he's coming back soon because people are crazy, and I'll talk to you on the next one, okay? Can you say goodbye? Say goodbye. Goodbye.